Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm AJ O'Neill, and we're going to do some live code. We're in part 21 now. We're getting ready for release almost. So I've implemented some code review feedback, and the first thing I want to tell you is Darth Vader here has nothing to do with the coding, but in a dark recess of the internet, I found some original Star Wars footage that was scanned in from film reels. And so if you're interested in that, I'm going to put a link just because it was something I came across last night. Well, I knew kind of about it before, but anyway, I'll put a link. So if you're interested in watching the original as seen in theaters, not even what was released on VHS, but the original, like taken from a film reel at a theater version of Star Wars, I'm just going to go paste that in the chat real quick. But that's not what we're on, what we're doing. And I've got very limited time. I've got just a couple minutes. So let me do a recap here. So I was looking at the previous, well, not the previous, but the example that I'd come to last time. Let's see. Okay, that looks good. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, it's just not quite right. It doesn't quite feel right. And I'm looking at the passport documentation. And I'm thinking, there's something about this that just does seem a little bit smoother. And not that I'm really trying to compete with Passport, because Passport does a completely different thing. It's all, really old school type of stuff. I'm focused on only modern standards. I'm not trying to do, that much legacy other than the username Passport. Anyway, but there is kind of a nice aesthetic to it. And I was thinking, okay, so how could we have a nicer aesthetic? And what I came to was, this was like one of those shower thoughts. I don't know if it was last night or this morning, or maybe it wasn't actually a shower thought, but I was so burnt out yesterday. It was gosh, that was a long day. So anyway, I gotta move something on my screen over here real quick so I can see any comments that happen to come in the next couple minutes while we're doing this. Okay, now I got that moved. Good. Now, so what I came to was something a little bit more like this, where the key focus, you won't notice much of a difference unless you've been following along, but the key focus is there's a couple things that must be given no matter what. An issuer, the priv key, and then this function that decides which claims to return. And other than that, the OIDC is what I expect everybody's going to use, the Google sign-in, Microsoft sign-in, etc., Facebook Connect. The challenge is something that I need for what I'm building this for with the people I'm building for. And then credentials is just, credentials, whatever. But I figured maybe the aesthetic of this is it doesn't do anything different. It just looks different. It looks a little nicer. It looks a little cleaner. It's a little more separation of, okay, these are the things that are related to IDC. These are the things that are related to challenge. And some of these things might actually overlap, and that's totally fine. But anyway, so this is what I'm going to do in the next couple minutes is I'm going to implement that change. And again, to look at the original. So here we are. There's a few more things in here. I realize that I don't actually need a secret because a private key contains secret values. So if I am given a valid private key, then I can just take the secret out of the private key and use that as the secret. So I like that idea. I feel good about that. And then let's see. Yeah, and then this, we just get to move this configuration out. And then there's some additional configuration that I want to put in here because it would just make it look like more lines of configuration. Indentation is not fun to read. We don't like it. So that's what I'm going to change real quick. And then I'm going to push it, and then we're going to call it good. Okay. So, and by the way, y'all that have been watching or just seeing now, I've got a Google token in there. Isn't this really insecure to be broadcasting? No, this is a dev token. It's fine. And it's expired by 6 days or something. But anyway, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go into lib session, and I'm going to go to where we're going to go down to where this function is being called. And you see there's all these different options you can be passing in. Okay, we're going to get rid of private or HMAC. This is going to be a to-do. We're going to do that. We're going to get rid of all this stuff, all these things. Wait, do we even use route prefix anymore? I think I only use that for a hot flash in the pan. All right, cool. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to have, let's get rid of all of this. Yeah, so we just need to have the get claims function, which I really just didn't like the name of that, but I didn't know what to call it. So boom, problem solved. I got rid of it. It no longer has a name. Love it. Okay. So what do we need to do here? We need to have, let's go ahead and set the options, the options for this stuff. Let notify, no. Well, yeah, we do need to let notify because if it's not specified, there's a default for it. Same thing with store. And then these things, we're just going to set them as well. Let them. We will let them be. We will let them into existence. Okay. Let not allowed. Okay. Oh, comma. Needs to be semicolon. Sweet. So what I'm going to do now is down here at the bottom, before I return the app, I'm going to do app.oidc equals function. And this is really dirty. It's a dirty trick, but I'm going to do it because I think that you should not override stuff on what you're returning. Now I could change. Okay. Before 1.0, there might be some feedback that makes sense to change this, because what we might want to do is have the router, have it return a function that is router. Actually, let me try that. I'm just going to try that. Return function. Let's see. No, doot OIDC, and it's going to take some ops, and it's basically going to say OIDC equals object.assign. We're going to take OIDC as the original object, and then we're going to overlay it with the ops. So that will be our OIDC function, and then we'll have our router function, which will simply return app. I kind of like this. And then we could have an init function that returns the promise of the, whoops. Okay, I like this. I like this a lot because there was a problem that I didn't know how to solve, which is parse private key. So parse private key needs to return a key pair, but there's also a promise here. So what I can do then is say we're going to return key pair and promise. There we go. So let's call this promise because I need it to return synchronously. I need it to, it cannot be async because I need to get back this value. I guess technically we could pass it in. Okay, let's change it so you can pass it in. All right, so we're going to pass that in. We're going to fill in our key pair value, and then we just return the promise. So now this can actually be async. Great. Even though it can be async, and I'll make it async for funsies. Yeah, because there's nothing I can really do with it as an async function. Because this is the right way to handle this. Like doing this .catch and this .then, this is the simplest way to handle this. This is the thing. Async await does not turn everything into a nail. It's a hammer, but it doesn't turn everything into a nail. Screws are still screws, and widgets are still widgets. Just because you have async await doesn't mean that you just use it everywhere. It makes things more complicated. Async await needs to be used judiciously. So, with that, I'm putting this async. This is documentation. This says this returns a promise. Anything that returns a promise in your code, you should put the word async in front of because it makes it's clear to the reader this returns a promise. That's what async does. You can await promises. Async, anyway. Enough of that. We're going to move on. Parse private key. So now we're going to do key pair promise equals, and we're going to do let key pair. This is really weird. It's hokey, but it's what we're going to do. There might be a way to get around this a little bit. So we might end up undoing this because of what I'm doing now, where now there's a router function, and there's an OIDC, and there's the challenge is going to take some ops, and it's going to... Now I wish I had more globalish ops. So, yeah, destructuring is not always the right answer either. Okay, challenge max age. So let's do let ops equal, and we'll just put in all these things. And then everywhere this is used, we'll just prefix it with ops, and this is going to be great. And again, we're doing something that is a little bit dumb, but it makes it look more ergonomic. So I'm not too broken up about it. Okay, so notify is null. Challenge max age is 0. Challenge max attempts is 0. Auth and param is empty string. It's nothing. Okay. So OIDC is empty object. All right, notify store is null. So what I'm going to do here is all the way down to the bottom. We're going to say ops.oidc equals ops.oic. Oh, whoops. We'll call this underscore ops. And then here, do the same thing. Underscore ops. All right. And then, so this is really dumb, because we're literally not doing anything different. We're just making it look different on the outside. So I say it's dumb because there could be some unintuitive things that I would need to fix later. Like, for example, you can pass in any options to either challenge or credentials, and it'll change options. But there's nothing about them as of yet that's actually different. And so that's one of those things where ops.notify... I don't consider it a good practice, but for prototyping this out and getting to v0.9 and, you know, as a releasable thing, I'm going to say, yeah, this is good. Because we need this to be releasable. And I have about 5 minutes to do that. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, whoops. Notify store. There we go. Alrighty, and we need, let's see, hmac secret. Okay, that's got to be used in the cookie parser. So here's where we have a slight problem. We need the hmac secret before we return the router. Okay, so this may not work out as intended, but it may. It may. I'm going to think on it for a second. Because the only way that we don't have the key at all is if we generate it. Okay, I think I've got a solution. I'm going to think on it for another second or two while I'm filling out some of this manual labor here. The one thing that's not that I do agree is better about destructuring all of your options for something is that you get better. If there's a typo, you will find out sooner. Okay, so this is actually, we're going to have to delay that now. Let's see. All right, so this might be a bad idea. I might take it back. But that's okay if I take it back. So what the router is going to return is actually, we're going to create a new function called router. And that function is going to go from air to air. And then at the bottom of it, we're going to return app. Okay, cool. So now we got to call that function to return the app. I think the let app equal. Okay, that's still up there. Good. Yeah, I want that up there. Maybe. Maybe I don't. We'll see. We certainly could move a lot of this stuff out of the way. Parse private key. Okay, so where's parse private key? Okay, so where are we calling that? If not private key, hmac secret equals, and then we're just going to do, I think what we're currently doing, hmac secret to do console.warn. I think we can kind of get rid of this thing. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to comment it out. No, I'm just going to get rid of it. It's in version control. Where did it do? Okay, I'm going to have to move this. Hey, sweetie. Mommy's out for a bit. So I just need to move this, and I've got about, okay, maybe I still have 5 minutes, about-ish. Okay, I need to move this into where's parse private key? Where'd that go? Is that right here? All right. So if there's no private key, then what we're going to do is set hmac to be private. Hmac secret is not defined. So that really should be ops.secret. I'm going to change everywhere we see hmac secret to ops.secret. Okay, we still have a couple places where we have that. Unexpected token online 302. 302. Oh, you want to watch Horton Hears a Who? Okay, give me just a second. All right, I'm going to go put on Horton Hears the Who. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay, let's put it on. But we're not going to be able to watch it for very long. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go in like 3 minutes. No, it's just 5 more. It's just 5 more. It's always just 5 more. Okay, so HMAX secret is there. What was I doing? Somebody remind me. I was swapping out some things. Oh, I wanted to make a private key. Here's what I'm going to try to do. So if private key. So if there's no private key, if string, all right, if private key and string is not the type of private key, maybe this is if private key, if string is not equal to the type of private key. String is equal to the type of private key, else. There we go. I'll show you what I'm doing here in just a second. This is a little clever, which is probably bad. Usually clever is bad. But what we're going to do here is if we have a private key, if the type is string, we're going to first try to see if we can read it from a file. If we can read it from a file, great. If we, then that's just the string that it is. Otherwise, we're going to stringify the private key, in which case we should get an object. Now, in that case, oops. We can take, oops, there we go. In that case, we can take the secret and say that the secret is the private key. And this is going to work just fine. Because that is a secret value that more than meets the criteria for what we need in a secret value. And so either way, let's do this then. Okay, so what we actually want, so we want this to go off right away. And then we call router. This is where, if we do not have ops.secret by this point, because it may have been provided by other means. So if we don't have it by this point, we would have already issued the warning that, hey, we're generating a private key, but because we need this behavior to be synchronous, that they can call router without awaiting it maybe. I don't want there to be an await. Well, I guess now it doesn't matter so much because I guess that would be fine. So let's just tag this on here for funsies. I've got 2 minutes. Let me see if I can go back to this. Is this the one, what we're doing? OIDC challenge credentials. We got OIDC challenge credentials and router. So issuer, private key, and then our little function mabob. Okay, let's see. What are we at here? Oh, good. So I should be able to update this. We no longer need secret. This moves up here. These options move into session middleware dot. Did I provide the options? OIDC. So we'll do this. Yes, we'll do this. And then we can have session middleware dot challenge to have notify and store We can have, and again, this is a no-op, but it gives, it kind of lends documentation to the reader. I don't like things to be no-op, so I will probably come up with something else that we should do for that. But there we are. We got our router and our well-known. Okay, so that's something that I didn't think about. I've got 1 minute left. All right, so we have our well-known. What does our well-known need? Does it actually need anything other than issuer? I don't think that it does. It does need key pair, but again, so we can have well-known, and that can do nothing. Oh, we need options for just generic options. Yeah, this helps us segment the API out. I think it's overall, I think it's a good deal. So now we can do this same thing, but we can do it here. And this actually would be like that, like that, like that. We could rename this to app. Just like we could rename the other thing to router. That would be more appropriate. People are accustomed to seeing it being called app, but it's not app, it's router. Like there's server and there's router. There's no such thing as app. It was a dumb idea. You know, I hope that the people that created it feel that it's dumb and it's just like, oh, well, you know, we called it that. Mistake, oops. Time moves on. But if they don't, they definitely should. Because that was a stupid name. It should be called server and app. And actually, it shouldn't even be server. Well, maybe it should stay app. But the router, the server, and the app are three different things. There's the express. Let's just call it E or X, or I don't know. I guess app makes sense. Never mind. But they definitely, the router should be different. There should be an app.router, and the router, you know, router. The top level, yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference because the whole set proxy and all that stuff, the router and the, I guess, meta router are different things. Okay, I think that this is a hacky-do. I'm going to, but I think that it's good enough. All right, let's see. Let's go with options, and then what are the options that we want here? Like auth in, param, auth in, sure. Just to document something. That's the sole purpose of this here. And then I don't have time to go fix the other places where it's used. And I might change this from challenge to verifier or something like that. Challenger, verifier, options, credentials, whatever. Okay, so Google : where's the other place where I'm using this? Do I have the ability to nix the secret? Let's see, secret equals. Oh, okay, that's what I could do. I could pass that in as options if I wanted to. Session middleware. Where's session middleware created? Right here? Okay, so let's get rid of that. Let's go back up to options. Let's go back down, whoops, to secret equals. And then we'll put session middleware, whoops, dot options equals secret, like that, yes. We get rid of this thing. We get our get claims function, which is kind of big. So I don't want to call it anything. I'll come up with a name for it later, but for now I don't want to give it a name, so I don't have to. And notify would be for, all right, let's do all this stuff here. Options. All right, and then middleware.router. middleware.wellknown. Well known. Yep. Okay, cool. That's it. I'm just going to push this up as is for now. I think I have made an improvement. If you don't think I've made an improvement, please let me know. I would love to hear feedback on this. Okay, I am running up against time. There's no way that I'm always going to be late for everything. You know how it goes. Especially when you're trying to get some code done on a time budget. All right, I'm not even going to check it. Git commit dash whip last API / readme update. Okay, I'm out. So if you like this, if you want to see more, give it a thumbs up. I will catch you around. I'm going to go because I need to go. All right. Blah, 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 doobly-doo, all that. Subscribe, bell. Adios.